If you're new to Fight Night Picks, welcome. Hello, I'm Craig Allen with Fight Night Picks. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Craig Allen FMP. I never start the videos off like that, but there's a reason why I'm doing it this time. Because insert the tweet from Max Friedman. Dricus Du Plessis has been one of my guys. Now, listen, Matt, we always pick on these, prospects coming up through. We're big one championship guys. We're big KSW guys, big Bellator guys. Do we have the prediction videos for them? No, because not a lot of people are going to watch them. But
we're also very busy in our weekly.
In our spare time, we're definitely not missing a KSW card. And we're definitely not missing EFC as well. And the man on the right-hand side, so there's going to be a little bit of bias in this one, but Dricus Du Plessis, if you haven't watched his fights and you're just going off our picks in the last 5 seconds, I implore you to A, watch the rest of this video, but B, go back and watch some Dricus Du Plessis videos. I'll allow you now. If you need to pause it, go ahead, because this guy is one of the most entertaining fighters. And whether he wins by knockout or loses by knockout, and he only has 2 losses on his record, you're not going to want to miss this guy's fights. Now, it could have been at 70, it could have been at 85, it could have been at KSW, it could have been with EFC. It doesn't matter where it is. Very, very entertaining fighter is Dricus Du Plessis. He has decent grappling to his credit. We saw it in the second fight against Roberto Soldic. Now, did he win that fight? No, he didn't. Do we have a video in one of our playlists where we talk about the best unsigned fighters that the UFC should sign? And in the thumbnail, it's Roberto Soldic? You're darn tootin' we do. But listen, Dricus Du Plessis, when he came over, had that fight against Roberto Soldic. He had beaten Yannick Bahati that a lot of people knew with EFC. He was a champ there. He came in taking on KSW's guy, Roberto Soldic. And hey, Soldic, a guy that spent a lot of time training with TriStar MMA up in Canada, you know them. And he has so many different tools in his tool belt, but it's his power and his left hook that really set him apart. Du Plessis gets the finish in the first fight. In the second fight, it's a knock him down, drag him out, slobber knocker of a fight. Soldic gets his belt back, and Dricus Du Plessis took some time off, about a year. Then he took on Joelinton Santos that you might recognize from, listen, that guy's record is, I could just throw a scroll out there and you'd have to read off the list.
Well-deserved time off for Du Plessis, because those back-to-back fights against Soldic will take quite a bit out of you, that's all.
So Du Plessis gets a big win over Santos there with KSW. Then he has a fight back with EFC against Brendan Lesar. I mean, 3-0. It's a win to put on your record. A nice finish there. And that pretty much sets the stage for Dricus Du Plessis. You know his grappling's half decent. He can wrestle if he gets into trouble. That's the thing. If he gets rocked, he's going to resort to the wrestling and the grappling and take it down to the ground. He has the ability to. And we've seen him get rocked before. Now, Roberto Soldic, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a guy that hits harder than that at 80. Really, in single shots, that guy is amazing.
Speed too.
Markus Perez on the other side, that guy hits like a truck, and I know the UFC record's salty, but he has fought some decent competition.
So Markus Perez kind of reminds me of Roberto Soldic, but for about 3 minutes. And this is my big problem with Markus Perez. When you look at his skills, he's good on the feet. He hits quite hard. He's got pretty good output for those first 3 minutes. And he's good on the ground. But something, it's kind of a theme in a lot of his fights. The worst thing that can happen to Markus Perez is him hurting his opponent early on in the fight. If he can crack you with a shot, he'll kind of burn himself out going for that finish. And then what already is somewhat questionable cardio, you can drain even earlier. Now, I'm not saying Dricus Du Plessis should pretend to get rocked at the start of this fight and then potentially get finished, but if he can wear this fight on and really lengthen this fight, I'll let this be known right now. I think Dricus Du Plessis, he's probably going to win this fight. And he's probably going to win by finish. But I do like that they're matching him up with Perez, a guy who, yes, in the UFC, like you had mentioned, he might not have lived up to what we really expected when he first entered. You know, those fun kind of face-offs he was doing where he'd paint his face like the Joker. But Du Plessis fought the best of the best outside the UFC. And no, he hasn't fought like a Douglas Lima, but the KSW, welterweight, middleweight, really just KSW as a whole. If you see a guy's coming over from there, it's not like they're coming over from like jungle fights or something. Like you can normally it's normally a pretty safe bet when a guy comes over from KSW that they're going to at least do somewhat well in the UFC. I mean, look, Jan Blachowicz, he's a world champion now, and he went 1-1 with Sokoudjou over in KSW. So who knows anymore coming into the MMA, but I do think Dricus Du Plessis, at his best, phenomenal striker, really good hand speed, can kick, can punch, can switch stances, but defensively he can kind of get worse. The more he switches stances, it's like he focuses on his offense a lot more than he does on his defense, and that can worry you a little bit, but I don't think Perez is the guy who's going to go out there and really make him pay for those mistakes, at least yet. I do think this is kind of a setup fight for Du Plessis. And then going on into the future, I mean, there's so many fun matchups for him at 185 in the UFC, but I do see this more as a stepping stone for him to kind of move on to those harder matchups at 185, but I'm really excited for the future of Dricus Du Plessis. If Perez can get the win in this fight, though, the sky's the limit, because beating a former KSW champion does so much for your career, and a guy who I don't think Dricus Du Plessis coming to the UFC is like an average guy coming to the UFC. I do think maybe not the casual fan knows who he is, but the hardcore MMA fans kind of realize what special talent is moving over to the UFC.
I'm going to compare him to somebody that I was really high on before he came into the UFC, and hopefully this comparison doesn't become a dud, and you can throw it on hot, ice cold takes if you need to. Here it comes. I mean, you know him from Ryzen. It's my guy, Yuri Prochazka, and that was a guy that there. He was taking on decent competition. Again, how good's Brendan Halsey? How good's Jay Kuhn? How good is CB Dollaway? Maybe not that good recently, but it's still decent competition to be fighting. If you're Dricus Du Plessis and at least you have one win over Roberto Soldic, you told me something there. Now, did Soldic just, go in there, not ready, not trained? No, it was a good fight in the first one. But in the second one, amazing fight. Obviously, Soldic won out. So, realistically, Yuri Prochazka comes in, and they slot him in against Uzdemir at the top of the division. At least Du Plessis gets a guy that's unranked, but you know who he is. And for Markus Perez, again, last 5, he loses to Anders, he beats Boknovic, he loses to Sanchez, he beats Hernandez, and he loses to Turman. What does that tell me? You're having a tough time. You're probably a 25 to 30 guy in a division that just keeps gaining. 85 just keeps getting better and better. And Du Plessis has more than an opportunity to win here. Markus Perez, decent on the ground. He can wrestle if he gets into trouble. The gas tank's a little bit of an issue, and he throws with a lot of power. He's a fun fighter to watch. Does Markus Perez have an opportunity in this fight? 100% he does. I know we talked a lot about Dricus Du Plessis. Go back. Our highest grossing video for the longest time was a KSW 45 fight companion. Dricus Du Plessis fought Roberto Soldic on KSW 45. So, yeah, I mean, I know, again, I had to give you the intro, and you might be pissed at me now, but just hang in with us because we're having fun. I'm so excited about this fight. On Tapology at a 627 total votes, 75% going with Du Plessis, 53% predicting him to win by knockout. The odds, I mean, somewhat surprising. Dricus Du Plessis open minus 195. Money came in on Perez. Du Plessis right now minus 150. Perez currently sitting at a plus 125. Open as a plus 150 or thereabouts. It's a really interesting fight. Again, there's a lot of bias, so let that be known right now. But I do like Dricus Du Plessis in this fight, and it should be fireworks.
Bias or not, it's not that I like Dricus Du Plessis. It's just that Markus Perez hasn't shown me enough during his UFC tenure. Beating UFC caliber guys that I would consider the Dricus Du Plessis has beat outside of the UFC shows me a lot more than going 3-2 against, not really the highest level of competition in the UFC. I think Dricus Du Plessis fought the better guys. I think he's the more skilled fighter out of the two. I do think he'll be able to pick up a win and probably even a stoppage one over the weekend.
2-3 in his last 5 too. So Matt, I mean, really looking forward to this fight. We both house South Africa's Dricus Du Plessis, and I mean, hey, when can we get some more South African fighters fighting in the UFC? Let's get those EFC guys and gals in here. I'm really looking forward to this fight. We've got a great main event, an extended preview. Marlon Moraes taking on Cory Sandhagen. So you're going to want to keep it locked in with that, Matt. And as we always say with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.